testing. Got it.
So,
There might be a few slip. I'm sorry. I apologize right now.
I don't have a delete button, so you really got to do your best. But yeah, so that's really the gist of how things are going to go, and that's how I'm going to. My camera input cuts are dictated by the conversation. So if you're speaking, expect to be on a full camera shot. If you're talking to somebody else, that's probably going to be a wide shot. Pause, and maybe some customer viewer interaction. They will, the shot will flow. So, does anybody have any questions about what I'm doing on my? Yes. No, each chair has its own mic. So you sit down, and you have your own mic.
So you don't have to, share spit or anything. It's one of those security measures that
Probably a good call.
Want to wear mine? After mine done? Yes.
you have your own. You don't have to Jonathan and I have to share. Jonathan, Melissa, and I have to share.
I brought my walking shoes today, so I can walk around.
Oh, very nice. It's funny how I prepped them for you, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're not gonna stand in. I've been standing in one spot.
Nah, not my thing.
Not my thing to just stand there like this.
I feel it spurs the creative, the juices.
Well, I said he may have tokens in his pocket.
Oh,
Beer.
no, I might. I don't have any of that today.
everybody. If everybody could take their seats, we are going to get started. Mic check. Mic check. Here we go. We're going to get started here in a few minutes, so everybody take your seats. We're going to get everything rolling. Thanks for being here. Good to see everybody in person. We're going to get started here momentarily.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Melissa Scruggs. I'm with Robert Half here in Colorado Springs, and I wanted to welcome you all this morning to this fantastic kickoff to Small Business Week. I have to say, this is my first outing. We've all been talking about this since the pandemic started, and gosh, it feels so good to be out networking in person and seeing everybody out there, smiling faces. It's awesome. It feels good. Traffic has certainly picked up, so we know that our town is open for business, and certainly doing a great job. But again, I wanted to quickly recognize the BBB and Paul and his team and Ikta and her team at the Small Business Development Center for putting a fantastic week of very appropriate content for you guys. So hopefully you guys can make all of these that they have going on this week. Great job. They do a great job every year, but this is going to be, I think, the best. And again, very relevant content. So welcome for that. But I wanted to speak just a couple minutes on behalf of Robert Half. We have partnered with small businesses around the United States for over 75 years. We love working with our small business leaders, helping owners and whatnot try to figure out how to hire top talent, how to retain top talent, how to deal with some of the difficulties that everybody's facing today, especially in the recruiting effort. It's hard. It's hard to hire really, really good people. So that's kind of where we come in, and we love working with our small businesses. It's very relevant. I see some familiar faces that we've worked with in the past, and it's certainly awesome to do all that. But Just wanted to thank you guys and stick around. We've got some great videos. At this point, I'm going to hand it off to some videos that we're going to show you guys from the BBB, the Small Business Development Center, and some of our sponsors.
Hello everybody, my name is Jonathan Liebert, CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado, and welcome to Small Business Week 2021. This is the largest small business week in the nation, and we are so excited about that, and that's in thanks because of all of you. The theme this year is epic. We have epic small businesses in our community, and we are going to have an epic week.
Hi, my name is Ekta Markulier, Executive Director of the Pikes Small Business Development Center, co-host of Small Business Week with the Better Business Bureau. Thank you for joining us again. We'd like to thank our sponsors.
Presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank, and our live stream sponsor, WireNut Home Services. We would also like to thank our corporate sponsors, El Paso County Economic Development, Kaiser Permanente, the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, and the City of Colorado Springs.
Thank you so much for joining us for this epic week of events.
Welcome to Small Business Week 2021. I'm Jim Harris, U.S. Bank's Colorado Springs Market President and Commercial Team Leader for the Mountain States. Our friends at the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center and Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado co-host Pikes Peak Region's Small Business Week, which remains the largest small business week celebration in the state of Colorado and the largest in the nation last year. U.S. Bank has been the presenting sponsor of Small Business Week for a decade, and we're proud to return again this year. The pandemic continues to be tough on many small businesses and entrepreneurs. So along with our fellow sponsors, we are bringing you the entire week of in-person and virtual events to you free of charge. We encourage you to join us for optimizing the value of your business and planning for the future. Learn from U.S. Bank experts on what drives the value of your business. Now we invite you to enjoy the free daily workshops and award celebration, all supporting and honoring the best of best small businesses in Southern Colorado.
Greetings, my name is Yemi Mobolade and I'm part of the economic development team at the City of Colorado Springs, dedicated to a thriving economy and excellent quality of life. We know our small business community is critical to the city's success, and that's why we're proud to sponsor Small Business Week. I want to share our most important tool, which is cosopenforbiz.com. It's a step-by-step guide to successfully starting a business in our city. Please check it out. Have an epic Small Business Week.
Welcome, everyone, as we celebrate Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region. We're here at Hearth House, representing an industry that was hard hit by the pandemic. I'm thrilled to be here as Hearth House reopens in our northern region of Monument, Colorado. As a small business owner myself, I know how important small business is to Colorado. Small businesses are the backbone of our local economy, and COVID-19 has significantly impacted them. As we commemorate Small Business Week with local events, workshops, and our famous awards celebration, we recognize all our entrepreneurs and small business owners in El Paso and Teller County. They have endured economic disruption, yet remain resilient and ready to provide outstanding goods and services. Small businesses are vital to our community, and we must continue to support them during these unprecedented times. El Paso County is proud to be a regional leader for our community's recovery, response, and reopening. We have allocated millions of CARES Act funding dollars and plan to give more direct relief to our small businesses in the near future. We are host to the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center, who has worked with thousands of businesses to navigate disaster relief, resources, grants, loans, and provided the strategic support needed for all of us to remain resilient. The Small Business Development Center, along with the Better Business Bureau, continues to support our small business community's needs, especially when they need it the most. I stand with small businesses, and you can too, by choosing to eat and shop at your favorite local and independently owned businesses, not just during Small Business Week, but all year long. Together as a team, consumers and businesses, we will not only survive coronavirus, but we will come out stronger and better. We'll see you soon at your favorite small business.
SBDC.org/Small Business Week. Because last year was virtual, we are really, oh, I have a nice echo. Our live stream sponsor, WireNut Home Services. Media sponsors for the week, Colorado Springs Business Journal, KRDO News Channel 13, Cat Country 95.1, and Pikes 92.9. Jonathan, will you tell us about the rest of the week?
Well, thank you, Aita, and again, thank you everybody for being here today. This has been just a fantastic partnership over the last couple of years with the SBDC. So Aita and I often joke that it's true, we're partners in crime on this event. And so we're just so pleased to be able to serve this community, but specifically the small business community. And I think it kind of goes without saying that everybody in the small business community had, their work cut out for them in 2020, and even still now. We're still kind of coming out of this thing, right? But one of the things that I was able to kind of hear from small businesses over the last couple of months is that they were just so pleased and so proud that this community showed up for them. And I've just heard that so many times that, you know, in other communities it wasn't necessarily the same as it was here. But people came out and they bought things. They promoted folks on social media. They created web pages to talk about businesses. They bought gift cards if they didn't need anything that day. And so they were just out there doing what they could to support our local economy. But again, our small businesses. We've got some really cool businesses, and we want to keep them all. We want to make sure that they get through the pandemic and that we absolutely have these businesses in the future. So we're just so fortunate that that's the case, and that we live in a community that actually cares about what happens here, and that they care about our small businesses. It's just so important. So today we're going to talk about marketing, and so this is the first of the panels we're going to start out this week. And I think, again, same thing, goes without saying, right? We had to change the way we did business. We had to change the way we told our stories, delivered the messages. A lot of that had to be done online, obviously, for many of these businesses. And so for each of the panels that we've got for the rest of the week, we've got subject matter experts that have just done truly a tremendous job of promoting their businesses and telling the story in a very different way. Or maybe they took what they usually did and they just tweaked it and changed it a little bit. So what we're going to learn about today is just really how these businesses saw how 2020 kind of popped up out of nowhere and how they had to pivot. I know we don't want to say that word in some spaces. It's not a good word, but that's what happened. You had to pivot. You had to innovate. You had to embrace this change and kind of go with it. And so we saw just a lot of good businesses and good business practices out there. You're going to hear from some of the folks that we saw just doing some amazing things. But again, more specifically, what I think we want to talk about today is, you know, what's at stake in the future? What's going to change for the future? So we saw these businesses you're going to hear from today. They're going to talk about how they made the changes and the pivots in 2020, but it's 2020 and beyond. Because they're still going through these changes. They're still trying to become creative and innovative to do different things with their marketing and their marketing messages, and they're not done yet. And so you're going to hear from them today about, you know, what to expect perhaps in the future, how business is changing, how consumers are changing, what they're looking for, and again, how your business can take some of these words of wisdom, but also maybe think a little bit different about how everything is out there and people are really kind of innovating the way they do this stuff. So we're really excited to have this kick off the first day today. Tomorrow we're going to have another panel, and that's going to be focusing on evolution, epic evolution. So again, businesses evolving, businesses changing. So we're going to hear more about that. That same day, we're going to have another panel that'll be virtual only that U.S. Bank is going to put on, and it's about how to value your business and, you know, what's at stake, how much is it worth, how have times changed, all this good stuff, right? Then on Wednesday, we're going to have a panel that's going to talk about social impacts. That'll be Epic Impact. It's talking about how businesses with a higher purpose are absolutely reaching this growing segment of the population of just conscious consumers. And so, again, kind of paying it forward, you know, a one-for-one model or just providing more impact is important, you know, now more than ever. And then that same day, virtual only, we're going to be talking to minority business owners and talking about how the pandemic has changed and affected their businesses. And then Thursday, we are going to have our big event. That's going to be, you know, if the 3 days now weren't enough, we got to, you know, kick this thing off the right way today. But then on Thursday is when we have the award celebration. So we've got some great finalists. If you ask me, it's like everybody, the small business owners should be winning awards for this past year. A lot of hard work has been done, but we've got some exceptional people that are in the finalists, and we're going to give some great awards out on Thursday. That'll be a virtual event. So we've got a full week planned for everybody. We've got just tremendous panelists that are here. You're going to see the first one today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to do things just a little bit different this week, or this year rather, in terms of how we're doing. You'll hear from the panelists, but to kick the panelists off, we are going to do a keynote. And so for each of the panels, there's going to be a keynote that's going to talk about their specific story, what they endured, and really kind of what they saw in 2020, but then also how they're changing for 2021 in the future. So our first panelist today is Mr. Todd, who is from Red Leg Brewing. I think many of you probably know Todd in Red Leg Brewing. He's got a beautiful new building there in Garden. There's some love here in the room for you. Give it up for Todd, everybody.
Thanks. How we doing? Heck yeah. Get away from the speakers. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thanks for the great introduction. I was the fortunate soul to spend $10 million during COVID to keep my project going. You can probably think about all the great things that led to. But before we go any further, it was something important to me to talk about today as really the first event coming out of COVID. I didn't have any slides today. They asked for slides also, and I just like, man, I'm like slided out. Like, is anyone else I mean, let's be honest, man. Like, who's tired of like the virtual thing? I know I was. I'm not a very virtual kind of guy. I like to walk around. I am fully vaccinated. I have no symptoms. So I might walk around a little bit today. So if you don't feel comfortable, just give me the old, hey man, back away. But I think as we were going through this, it sparked a lot of things in my past. And I think we all go through it. A couple years ago, we started distributing our beer on military bases across the country. And it's been a lot of time on the road. And one day, I spent an inordinate amount of time on the road that week. And I come home and I have a 2.5-2-year-old daughter. She had no idea who I was. None. But as an entrepreneur, what do? We rationalize it. It's okay. It happens. I'm building the dream for her. Right? How often do we do that? Right? We rationalize not being there because I'm doing something bigger for her, for the community, for everyone else, for my employees. A million ways to rationalize what we're doing. But hit me. That was the first time it really hit me. Here I come off the road, daddy's little girl, right? Come here. Just looks at you, stone face. That's tough. Kind of makes you reevaluate. This is what I want to do. Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to sacrifice things? Really made me think. I talk to my brewery all the time, our employees. I say the only mistake in life is the one you don't learn from. That's the true mistake in life. So how do we learn from that? Well, trust me, I thought about it a lot. This last year I heard a guy speak, Todd Musselman. Give him all the credit for what I'm about to say. Great guy. He said, what are the key to, he would say, a happy life or key to relationships? What do you think? What do you think he said? Communication. Is part of this. What else? Relationship, key to relationship. I like it. No. It's coming from this. It's all in this. Love. Great. Love. Not it though. What else? Honesty. Loved it. Right? It all comes from this. It's so simple. People are always surprised when he says it, when I talk about it. Time. Love it. All these are great answers. But all these come out of one thing. And I'd like you to consider this a conversation. It seems so simple. Who here has had a conversation already this morning? Who here got distracted because their phone bleeped? Their email went off. The thing like, who actually was talking to somebody and they weren't really paying attention? They were just waiting to talk or they were trying to do something else. It's okay. It was me. I did this morning too. Who else? Don't lie. Right? We're so busy nowadays, right? Who's present in the conversation? Who puts their phones away, puts their watches away, and has a conversation? And then it hit me. My entire relationship with my daughter was becoming trivial. I come home, I try and hammer home 15 minutes of whatever, but what happened when I was trying to hang out with my daughter? My phone went off, my employee called, my email came in. Next thing you know, our relationship gets lost. That's hard. It's hard nowadays to put these things away and to actually be in the moment with someone you're talking with. My speech today is called The Beginning of Something Bigger. Because in my life, that one little thing, having a better conversation, right? We have that conversation with ourselves before we talk to anybody. Am I going to express love to this person? Appreciate your answers, thank you? Am I really in that moment with Joe? Or am I just, just getting through the relationship? Right? Think about it. It happens. That's the key. That's where it all starts for small businesses. It's a relationship. It's funny, this year I had a great meeting. I was with my good friend Rebecca Decker. Some of you might know who she is. She's think the CEO over at Blue Stack, and we're sitting there with an elected official, and she and I always have our strong views on the importance of small businesses. And I've always said this about small businesses. Small businesses define and create community cultures. We are the keepers of that. They're not passed down. They're not determined in an office by city council. It's on us. We decide. And without this lesson I learned about being present. She said something to me, very interesting. By the way, they just signed like a $750 million contract, right? So they're doing okay. But I was waiting for my turn to talk. But it hit me again, be present, be in the moment, be here, be now. What is she saying? And she says something very interesting. Remind you, $750 million is contract. They have other millions and millions of dollars contract. They have 250 employees, they're gonna hire 200 more. And she says something very interesting. And I promise you, I would have missed it if I wasn't present with her in that conversation. She said, I need Red Leg to make it. I was like, no, you don't. You guys got so much money, like you got all these contracts. You don't need Red Leg. She goes, no, I need Red Leg to survive because I need my employees to go somewhere, to enjoy themselves. When I'm recruiting all these people to come in from out of state to join us on our journey of Blue Stack, I need them to go somewhere where they can catch a concert, catch a drink, catch great food, whatever it might be. Just like my daughter, I was missing these moments because I wasn't there. This is there for a lot of us. Last year, terrible. Write it off, man. It is. It's a part of our experience now. What mistakes, what do we get to learn to push ourselves forward now? How do we push ourselves forward? And she said something. I need Red Leg to make it. I need this facility to come online. Interesting. I thought about it more and more and more, and I'm like, what? You're right. Just like I need her to keep winning government contracts, I need her people to come to us. I came to this idea, this what we call community synergy. And without these conversations happening, without being present in them, we would have missed it. The synergy between her business and mine. And then think about how it grows. From banks, from lenders, from insurance. There's this huge synergy out there between all of our businesses. And how often we just go by. Right? We answer that email, we answer that phone, we move on. When we started Red Leg, I remember I went to the city of Colorado Springs for help to get my business off the ground. They gave me one sheet of paper to start a restaurant. Well, if you know anything about brewing beer, like it's not really a restaurant. We're probably closer to manufacturing than we are anything else. I was surprised. Now there's all these different things going on in the city. Yemi's here, right? The city of Colorado Springs actually has an economic development thing for small businesses now. Isn't that amazing? So now there's this synergy. There's Red Leg, Blue Stack. But how do we change the conversation? How do we move forward? Like I mentioned a little bit ago, small businesses are on us. Community cultures are defined and maintained by small businesses. I believe that wholly. Whenever you hear me talk about it, I believe it. Right? Music City USA, ever heard of that? Where did that come from? Does anyone know? Nashville, Tennessee. Music City USA. Who developed that? Small businesses. Now all these other industries, tertiary to music, rely on that industry to make something, to recruit. Robin Half, where was she at, right? If you're from Nashville, what do you say? Hey, come to Music City USA. Look at all these great recruiting tools. Our city is in a change, in a big change, really fast. Look around. Just look out this window, beautiful window. Look at all these cranes up in the air. Who's doing the development? How many businesses like ours are pushing all in? Yeah, it was tough last year. I know. Trust me, I know. Right? Did it slow Red Leg down from pushing all in again? No. Because I believe in this town, I believe in the conversation, I believe in the community synergy that's happening, but we have to be on the front end of that. So how do we create this community culture? Well, it starts internally, accepting that there's a conversation that has to happen between businesses, between elected officials, between the city. We are important. We need resources to continue to grow. I'm going to go ahead and put up $12 million of my own money because I want to grow here. My family's here. As a business owner, I have a responsibility to my employees to be a great owner. Not to pay the minimum wage, just to get by. Not to take your profits and send it back to wherever it's going, our headquarters. My headquarters is here. Just like BlueStack, they're here. They want to create a culture here. But she was having that conversation with an elected official, saying it's important. We have to keep it going. So to create a culture, we call it at Red Leg the astonishment. How do you create astonishment every day? It's hard. When a guest comes in, when a new employee comes in, how do you create that astonishment for someone to bring on that culture? That's where it starts. You go to a Switchbacks game. What do you want when you go there? Nick's here, you can yell at him. What do you want to see? Right? But the customer's always right. If no fans show up, what happens to your team? Right? I always tell our employees, our customers are always right. We might not like that they're always right, but they are. They're going to tell us what they want to do. They vote with that almighty dollar. And all that comes together through a conversation, through listening, through understanding there is a community synergy happening in this city right now. And we have an opportunity to be on the top end of it as a small business. Look what's growing. Look who it is. Where are they growing at? How much money they're spending? Who's headquartered here? There's opportunities for all of us in this room. There's a lot of us out there. We have to be willing to have the conversations. It can't stop just because Small Business Week is over this week. Just because it's Friday and it's over doesn't mean the conversation stops this week. I challenge everyone in this room, have a conversation. When you have your business and a local elected official comes in, tell them it's important. Why is it important to you? Cultures are important, but they come from us. I call it insourcing. We've been on an insourcing spree here in Colorado Springs for a while, right? We take these companies, we bring them in, we insource this culture, right? We want it. Yes, more In-N-Out Burger. Yeah, right? We want that. What does that do for our culture? What does that make us? How does that change us? How does that shape us? They're insourcing something on you. How do we take this great culture we have? This outdoor city USA. How do we take it, grow these businesses, and take it somewhere else? It's important. That's where cultures come from. It's the beginning of something bigger because I want to challenge you to take this challenge on. There is more money here. There is more people here. There are more high-quality jobs here than there ever have probably been. I wasn't here in like 1870, but I'm guessing. There's more money here now than ever. There's more leaders here now than ever. It's time to grow. It's time to create your astonishment as a small business person. Take the risk. Thomas Paine said this in 1776, a long time ago. I want to take the calculated risk. Not to be doled over and taken care of by the state. I am an entrepreneur. It's scary. Who was scared last year? That was terrifying. But here we are. Did we make mistakes last year? Yeah, all of us. We did. But did we learn from those mistakes? That's just learning. Mistakes are only mistakes when you don't learn from them. I challenge all of you as we go through this next week and we go into the years to come. This is just the beginning of something great happening here. It's no one's job, it's no elected official's job to come up with our city slogan or our whatever. We are responsible for the keepers of the culture here. It's on us to invest in our businesses, to grow them, to find financial institutions, to find more money. It's out there, you can find it, but it's on us. It's hard. Spending $10 million during COVID wasn't the best thing I ever did. But you know what? I stuck to our plan, stuck to our model, we kept going, found other ways to support it, and keep going. We want to create this culture. We want you to say, hey, when we come to Colorado Springs, we want to go to Garden of the Gods, and then we're going to go to Red Leg. I'm going to show you something you've never seen before. But it takes risk. It's scary. I'm not trying to say it's not scary, but it's being present in the moment. We can make all the excuses for last year we want, but then you're going to miss today. Being present with you here, with your friends, turning off your phone, or maybe not watching it. Because you might miss the opportunity when Rebecca Decker changes your entire thought process on how these businesses align with each other. I don't know what all the people in this room, what your businesses are or online, but I bet you someone online has already clicked off and checked their email since I've been talking. Right? They forgot to be present in what we're talking about. You let that stuff take over your business world, you'll forget to see what's right in front of you and how we come together as a team of businesses. This is just the beginning. There's opportunities out there for all of us to grow, to take care of our employees, to take care of our community, and to change the message. I want to thank BBB, the SBDC, Casa Permanente, Whiskey 291, Ring, Switchbacks. Patrice, are you representing poetry or are you doing Business Journal today? Business Journal today. All right, I love it. And I want to thank all of you for listening. The conversation can't stop here. We are the keepers of our culture, and we have to push it forward because it's happening all around us right now. What do we want our city to look like? It's on us to decide that. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. I hope I gave you something to think about. Cheers.
Thank you. And Todd, thank you. What an amazing opening speech. I think this is a great opportunity for us all to just be present and have a conversation with each other. So for those of you who don't know Kaiser Permanente, we are a healthcare and health insurance provider. I'm tangled up here. And we've been in Colorado for nearly 50 years, and we're a nonprofit. And in our company, I work in marketing and communications, so I'm really honored to be here today. And excited to hear from our panelists to talk about marketing during a pandemic. And moving beyond this sort of stage we've been in of crisis management mode, which I think has been a very challenging time. And according to the American Marketing Association, 62% of marketers report that marketing became more important during COVID-19. And I don't know about many of you, but it feels amazing to be sitting here in a room, in a beautiful room with open doors and windows and mountain air in person with other actual human beings. So thank you all, and to be vaccinated and to feel safe that we don't need to be wearing a mask right now because we're in this wonderful setting. So for many of us, it has been more than a year since we've been in this setting and in this type of environment. So we're going to do our best today, and we're going to be supportive. And we may have some funky sounds coming out of our microphones, and that's okay. And we're just going to really have fun and be present. So before we get started to hear from our panelists, since it has been a while, just want to remind everybody, please put your phones on silent. And if you have a ring, that's okay too. On that note, let's meet our panelists. So Nick, we'll start with you. Can you please share your name, title, company? And we're going to start with a bit of an icebreaker to kick things off on a positive note, because the last year has presented more challenges than anybody on the planet really could have imagined, but there are some silver linings. So thinking back on 2020, can you share one of your top 3 silver linings, along with your name, title, and company?
So, Nick Reagan, I'm the president of the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. We have a few organizations within that, but I'm the president of the Switchbacks. That's the easy way to go about it. And then one of the silver linings of last year, from our small business standpoint, it's pretty hard to put a good plan and put the preparations in place for a year like last year. But as we'll talk about it here in a little bit, one of the things that we have done, I think, a good job of, even though it's been challenging for us since we started our business, was number one, having a great plan, and number two, showing up and working hard every day. And sometimes when you do those things, even through the midst of COVID, things tend to work out. So, silver lining.
Good morning. Patrice Ravenscroft. I serve as Chief Executive Officer for 6035 Charities under the Colorado Housing Publishing Company, as well as Associate Publisher for Southeast Express newspaper, sister paper to the Business Journal. And for me, I think two things. Watching a team struggle for the same mission during this adversity that we've all faced was really inspiring to see people continue to climb. And I have a little 6-year-old, so for us to just get through it together was like such a great silver lining, you know what I mean? And just to see the strength and the resiliency that business and people coming into work, as professionals was a highlight.
I'm Lauren McKenzie. I own Ren Creative, a teeny tiny little design studio based here in Colorado Springs. We serve primarily small businesses. Silver linings. I had a few despite everything. I got engaged, bought a house, my first house, wild going through that process in the middle of a pandemic, I'll tell you that much. Super grateful for both of those experiences. And Support the Springs was honestly my most prized thing to come out of this pandemic, and it did a lot of good for our community and for our small businesses, and getting to see those yard signs as south as Fountain and as east as Powers. It was really cool getting to see those words of encouragement all across the city.
Hi, I'm Michael Meyer.
question. From an asset standpoint, the Switchbacks is an organization. We have a variety of different people on our staff, from a traditional sales and marketing team to professional athletes to professional coaches. And at the end of the day, our greatest asset, like I'm sure many of us would agree in here, but was our people. And when we look at, we talk about, having a good plan and seeing that plan carry us through a challenging time, it was really a plan that was people-focused, with the best intentions, with the best goals for our people. So we have kind of 3 core values, and one of those core values is our people, and how we define that is help our people set and achieve their goals. And one of the challenging things for our small business, since we started in 2015, is as a product that we could deliver in a way that would just sell off the shelf, so that when we bring on quality sales staff, they could actually earn the necessary commission to stay on board. We've had some excellent people through our business, but we needed something that could deliver some benefit back to them for all their efforts. And so our plan to put the stadium downtown, to make something that's really cool. The term cool is something that just continues to kind of repopulate with everything. When we think about marketing and experience and everything, how do we make it cool? At the end of the day, it translates into a great experience for our players, for our sales staff, for our sponsorship staff, but that's because we're delivering something that the community really wants and is excited about and is cool.
And it is a cool stadium. Okay, we're going to move on to you, Patrice. How did the Southeast Express help support local small businesses?
Hello and good morning to everyone. So the Southeast Express is a nonprofit newspaper in itself, so I think we aligned with a lot of the opportunities and struggles that small businesses were facing, thinking about payroll and thinking about how you're adjusting your marketing spend. And so a lot of what we spent our time with our advertisers, who are our partners, are meeting them where they are, right? So the Southeast Express, our tagline and our brand is really many voices, one community. And so we kind of turned our flashlight to our community in the Southeast, which is the most diversely in the census tract in Colorado Springs, most diverse area in Colorado Springs, and we try to highlight them. So they started telling our story for us under that brand, many voices, one community. And the Business Journal, where the business community meets, we kind of took what they did and put a little Southeast swag on it and said, every month we are going to dedicate a voice. We partnered with KOAA, and the last Wednesday of the month we're elevating leaders, elevating influencers, marketers, CEOs that are in the Southeast, restaurant owners, a majority of small business owners that might not have had that elevated marketing. So earned media is a huge way that we leverage our print. We'll talk a little bit more about what's happening in print, because we are moving to to Lauren's point, to such a digital QRs, and everything's digital. But for us, that curating opportunities for small businesses is the heart of what we want to do. I had one other thing. We do guest columns, which is another great earned media for small businesses. We let them tell their story about the culture they're creating, about, Red Lake just came up here and really talked about that culture of business, and we really want them to elevate it. We don't want to be the one telling their story. We want them to find their heartbeat through our publication. And the last thing on here I had, I think just elevating small business. I think we just came alongside of them. We already have all of our print publications see over 200,000 eyes. So our struggles were a little bit different. We're already in the public. So now how can we leverage that for small businesses? And I think that's one of our main top 3 goals when you look at strategic planning for our leadership, and how small business, whether it's Burger Week, whether we're doing blogs, whether we're, sponsoring things like this that the SBDC and the BBB are putting on, and making sure that we are there. So that was, what did we say? How did we help small businesses? I think that was my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, we'll move over to you. Innovation is crucial to businesses. Can you give an example of something Distillery 291 did that was a success?
Sure. Yeah, so we were essential, which was great. So our team came together, and every day we sat at the same table. We went home, didn't hang out with anybody else, came at the same table. And the governor was coming down with executive orders right and left, and we were worried that we're going to be cut out and things like that. And we were left off at one point and then brought back in. And so it was, what we were waiting on was cocktails to go. New York had done it, and we were like, that will help us, you know, with our tasting room, that will help us. We can do bottles to go, but cocktails to go. Cocktails are a big part of our tasting room. And so the executive order came down, and we kind of hesitated a little bit, but being a small team, we could pivot. And I looked at Emily, who runs my marketing and stuff, and said, are we doing cocktails to go? And she said, I don't know. And I looked at Murray, who's my COO, and I was like, Murray, are we doing cocktails to go? He goes, I don't know. I said, we're doing cocktails to go. And I called my distiller. He brought me a bottle. I had someone make the cocktail. We put it in the cocktail, or in the bottle, put a cage on it, put a sticker, 291 sticker on it, not even a label, and wrote the title of the cocktail on it, and took a photograph, and we had it up on the web. We started that at 3 o'clock. At 3:40, we had it on the web, selling cocktails. That evening, we sold 80 cocktails out of the tasting room for $10 a piece. And the next day, we sold 160 cocktails. Then we grew them to larger, 375, 750 cocktails to go, cheaper, a lot more cocktail. My cocktails are strong, so. But the great thing is I hike daily almost, I try to, in the mountains, about 6 to 8 miles a day. And there was one guy I run into all the time, and he's like, I love your Whiskeritas. And all through the pandemic, I saw him hiking, and every time he was like, I just bought more Whiskeritas. So it was amazing to be a small team and pivot like that and be able to effectively, we grew our tasting room while it was closed. So, thank you.
Well, thank goodness for innovation. Now we want to hear from the group, really building off of that on the next question, and it goes without saying, no one was prepared for a pandemic. So, nobody knew this was coming. What have been some key takeaways for small businesses owners? What worked and maybe what didn't work? We'll start with you.
So what worked last year and what didn't work?
Yeah, it either work or if you have an example of each, we can keep it for around 2-minute answers.
Well, for us, from a what worked standpoint, coming at it from a business perspective, we were able to execute on, you know, for us, we're in a sports and events business. And so when we start the year, we already know there's a specific dollar amount that we're already committed to right out of the gates, right? So COVID is kind of a little bit scary because you're committed to that dollar figure, whether it's COVID or not. And I'm sure a lot of people's businesses have different aspects of that, but we're not talking 40, 30, 50%, like all of it I'm committed to. And so one of the things that we were able to do, I think through just being creative, trying to work within the process, talking and communicating with great people, and I'll say this again, from the city to the county, just being able to put a plan together where we were the first sports franchise in the state, actually for 3 months in Colorado, that had any fans at all in their venue, period. And we did that in working with the county by basically quadranting our facility so that, according to the rules, you could have 250 people in an outdoor restaurant space. And so that's what we did. We had restrooms, food service, and seating in 4 different sections, and then we sectioned off again for players and additional things on the field. So we really had 6 different, different carved out sections. So for, it's not something that you want to duplicate, but from last year, from a creativity standpoint, and maybe that's something that worked, is just being creative, working within the process, working with great people that care about your business and want you to succeed. I'd say that creativity.
I'll go ahead. We'll go down the line. So, coming staying the course and understanding the heart of your message, that has been like the biggest thing that we've seen. That you have seen people who need in front of you, like you think about like Brother Luck, he just came to my mind about this business owner that, restaurant business owner, you really got to see him get through a hard time, and how are we moving forward, and all these businesses really sharing their wounds of what has happened the last year, staying the course and making sure that that heartbeat is still there. When you think about Simon Sinek or Jim Collins or Patrick Lencioni, that foundation of knowing your why, knowing your heart message, I think that takeaway for the businesses and our publication itself, that has been a success for us, because we're like, we're going to stay, we're going to come alongside you as a business owner, we are going to work with you and meet your needs, and I think, and that's more of an encouragement that the business community, you are seen, you are heard, you are valued. People showed up today here to listen to this, and I think there was something to be said about people being lifelong learners and a growth mindset and refusing to let this be the last thing and fighting for their dreams. And for me, that's been really inspiring to see for business owners and for them to really tailor their marketing that speaks so authentically, and I think that's why they're seeing success. And I don't know, it's been inspiring. All of the hardships have really shown us how strong we are. Like there's climbers, campers, and quitters, and I think we've all been there. Like we wanted to quit hanging out the last year. It's just been so many obstacles. Or we're camping out, right? We're like, all right, we've scaled a little bit, we got a little stability, and we're gonna coast here. But our city has some climbers. I mean, they are just like, we are gonna keep going up this mountain in Pikes Peak, right? We're gonna come and link arms. We're gonna come and show up for each other, and that's been inspiring for me as a takeaway.
I definitely agree with all of that. Great way to put it, Patrice. And I'm going to kind of bounce a little bit off of what Todd was saying. Is if we're not learning from it, then what? And I know that we're all really sick of the word pivot, so I'm going to throw another word out there for us: refine. If we're not consistently refining what we do, this didn't work. All right, let's make some tweaks. Let's try it this way. And I think that is something that should be normalized in how we operate our small businesses. Is we're always trying to make tiny little adjustments and making sure that we're always staying on brand to our why, to who we are, to what makes our businesses function, and how we serve our consumers and our customers. Things that worked and didn't work for me. So things that worked, I worked around the clock to serve my clients and to serve my small businesses, because that's what I knew how to do. We're all trauma bonded at this point, right? Like, we've lived through this pandemic. It was terrible. We're going to have this with us forever, but onward, moving forward. We did it. We learned a lot of things. I learned that we can serve our people and our clients as much as we want to, but the downfall is when we position ourselves no longer the most important. Taking care of our own selves, our own businesses, our own mental health, our own families, that was something that I learned really the hard way. Was, I'm out here trying to rally for my people and my customers at the expense of my own sanity at a lot of times. And so it's finding those margins, and how do we live beautifully in the middle, in serving both sides of the coin there. So I guess that's my biggest learning experience from everything. So. Sure.
Okay, what worked and what didn't work. I have a hard time. I'm not really sure what didn't work. I have an amazing team, and we did a lot of new things during COVID. And the one thing that did work, is virtual. We all went virtual, right? We all did Zoom. We had never done Zoom. I was so nervous about doing Zooms. And now it's like, oh, that. But what worked for that with us, we did music every night, 6 days a week, because we were supporting the musicians that used to play for us. But the one thing for marketing, and that's some marketing, but the marketing thing that worked for us, 291, was before COVID hit, we were planning on flying people in, journalists and different people. We're trying to grow outside of Colorado Springs, Colorado, and be more national a national brand, an emerging brand. And so bringing in journalists to talk about us from GQ, Forbes, Esquire, wherever, and it was going to cost us money. We were going to have to put them up and do all this stuff, but we were willing to do that. And what happened is all of a sudden that went virtual. So me walking, you know, with my iPhone on whatever platform, walking around the distillery, giving them tours and face-to-face, and if we could ship them whiskey, we would, and they would, at the end of the tour, and I mean, I gave them full-on tour, and at the end of the tour, we'd sit and taste whiskey and talk about it. And I have a crazy story, but it was awesome, and so that was amazing. We realized that we could tell the story without having them here. We do want them to come experience the distillery, you know, in person when we can, but it really helped. You know, there are a couple of journalists from the UK that we talked to, and okay, I was drinking whiskey at 8 a.m. in the morning because you know, it's their afternoon there, but whatever works, and it worked. It was amazing. We got a lot of press that we didn't expect to get, and a lot of Instagram stuff that was amazing, followers and influencers that just latched on and kept telling the 291 story. So that really worked.
Thank you all. It's pretty amazing the way businesses responded by really thinking creatively and outside of the box. So now for some more individual questions. Patrice, can you speak to some of the unique impacts for minority business owners in our community and some support that may be out there?
Absolutely. So Southeast Express kicked off this Coffee Connect conversations, broadcasted on KOA News, and we had Corey Akaris and Yemi Mobilade and Taj Stokes and Natasha Main with Exponential Impact and Thrive and Colorado Enterprise Fund, where they are focusing in on minority businesses, and we've all felt the impact. Something that came out of that was minority-owned businesses saw a disproportionate impact during the pandemic. 78% concerned about closing versus 57% non-minority small business. And in addition, minority-owned business faced a little bit more in access to capital and grant and loans. So when you look at the work that the SBDC is doing, Corey Akaris announced this beautiful new Black business fund specifically for minority businesses that might have accelerated challenges in their businesses. Natasha Main, she has Survive and Thrive, and there's all these great resources for minority business to access capital, to access maybe earned media or elevated marketing that they might not have received. And I think even just shining a light on that and our community understanding that that is an issue, that is a space where there's more capacity that can be flooded into those minority businesses. And I think with what we're doing at the Southeast Express, we're the most diverse census tract in the Springs. And so we're trying to elevate those voices. We're trying to spotlight the businesses that are doing great work that might not be able to get to a business journal or get to a Colorado Springs, but they're in the 80910, 80916 area that is often has a stigma behind it. Also with that, I think small business owners that are minority run, to see people that reflect themselves is really large. So to have someone like Yemi Mobilade to be at the forefront of this community that can speak into those spaces, I think is huge. We're seeing more women leaders rise up. We're seeing more women of color. We're seeing more Latina businesses that are thriving. And I think, you know, we're closing those gaps a little bit. And I think that's encouraging for the small business community, and that we've all seen, you know, the same challenges, even if they look a little different through different lenses. The only other thing I wanted to say about that was, it was the Black Business Fund through the Colorado Enterprise Fund, and that is a brand new initiative that's out, and now the Colorado Enterprise Fund is taking over the enterprise zone that's local in Colorado Springs, and so now you have a Corey Akaris that's at the front of you know, lending and can see through a different lens. So I think there's a lot of opportunities that are coming because people that reflect me, people that reflect the Latina community, the indigenous community, they're seeing more leaders that look like them, and I think it's opening more doors and access to grant funding, to capital, to marketing, and it's exciting. I think I answered that.
Yes, that was great. Thank you. Lauren, we're going to move on to you. You mentioned this. Can you talk a little bit about Support the Springs and how that initiative helped our region and what it was for anybody who may not know, maybe watching virtually?
Yeah, absolutely. Support the Springs came about based off of one conversation. There was a lot of hubbub when COVID was about to wreak havoc on our entire lives and our community and our small businesses. And it was Friday, I think it was a week before we fully shut down. And all of my feelers were going, and all I could think of is this is going to be bad for our small business community. And my creative community here in Colorado Springs is full of so much talent and so many great ideas. And how can all of us, because our businesses are remote based, they really always have been. So we're going to be okay. We're not new to Zoom. We're not new to online things. How can we, working from home, be able to serve and support our businesses? And so I sent out an email and I said, I don't know what the heck we're gonna do, but I feel like I want to meet. I want to have a conversation on what we can do. What does this look like? And I had about 10 of us. We're all competitors in the market here, but we don't care. It's, everything aside, what can we do? What can we create to really bring everybody together to save our businesses? And out of that one conversation, it was about a 3-hour conversation, came Support the Springs. Courtney Caldwell created a brand over the weekend. Neon Pig Creative and I created a website in 7 days. A week called Sam with Creative Consortium. We had stickers, we had yard signs, we had t-shirts, everything donated by our time and with volunteers to give to these businesses to be able to sell to make some sort of money. We tote bags, whatever it is. And really our mindset was, guys, this is a marathon. We're gonna be in this for a while. And it's gonna take a toll on so many people. And how do we just keep the spirits up and all come together with the same message as we love this city. We love this community. We want you to be able to easily access some sort of resource that tells you updated information on where you can find and support these businesses. And I mean, it was wild. It was pretty crazy of us to all do while also maintaining our own agencies and our own clientele. But the website served as a way for businesses were able to submit their current information. I don't know if we all remember this, right? Every single week was different. Can we sell alcohol to go? Can we not? Can we have people inside? Can we not? Are we allowed to do deliveries, contactless? How do we get the community as a whole to know where our business is? Is our restaurant open? We don't know, because the reality is your owners are back in the kitchens cooking, not updating their Google hours, not updating every 7 days whether they've got things to be able to sell. And so we thought, okay, well, if we've got a map listing that we can create where someone can get to the website and click on each of these individual businesses and see, all right, great, they're offering takeout, they're offering cocktails to go, they're open these days, this is how I can find them, this is their phone numbers. And so it got a little crazy there for a little while, but we grew to 4,000 followers in a matter of a couple months. And so we were able to really take that platform and use it to amplify our small businesses and be able to say, hey, these are what all of these great, amazing organizations are doing to try and stay alive. And the mindset too is give when you can and support in other ways when you can't necessarily give. And that's what we really wanted to do with Support the Springs is, we were all kind of really holding things close. Will we have money at the end of this? How are we going to be? And we really wanted people to understand, you don't necessarily need those dollars to show up to stimulate the economy. You can do it in so many other ways. Your social media platforms, liking, commenting, mentioning, following these businesses that are really struggling, that need us right now. There's a million other ways that you can do it and you can show up for them. And so Support the Springs was amazing. I'm so proud of it. I'll forever be proud of it. It's not going to go anywhere. There's always going to be something in which we can reposition ourselves to support someone in need. You know, I look back at, the city has survived so much. Waldo Canyon, Black Forest fires, and I love that my creative community has always showed up. We're selling t-shirts, we're selling whatever, we're donating the money back to our community that needs it. And so Support the Springs is forever gonna live in that space to be able to give back to this community of businesses that we love, that showed up last year through so much turmoil. So proud of all of you guys, you did it.
Thank you, Lauren, and to the team who stood that up, because I think those of us who live here, we really do love the Springs. It's a passion most of us have.
I'm going to move over to you, Michael. You touched upon this a little bit, but I'd like to hear more about, talking about media relations, and really it's a really important and free way that businesses can get earned coverage. So can you talk a little bit about how you changed and, from doing in-person media relations tours to virtual, and when you did bring them in, and how that helped your business over the last year?
Yeah, so we did a few things. Media relations for just contacting people and getting the word out. That's what you want to do. You want to be written about. You want your story told. And Emily was really good at, she kind of pivoted, using that word again, to where she was reaching out to a lot of whiskey influencers on Instagram and really introducing herself and introducing the brand to them and getting whiskey to them if she could. And there's a whole community where they start liking different things, and their group starts liking it, and it just kind of spreads like wildfire. And so that was really something we had not done yet. And it, having the time to sit there and not traveling and not to focus on that and reach out, and then just traditional media, newspapers, magazines, reaching out virtually was really incredible. Another thing that we did was my COO, Murray, put together a conference, more or less, a 6-week panel discussion between, it was called The New Normal. And what we were trying to do was educate our buyers, liquor store owners mainly, liquor store buyers, and some restaurant on and off premise is the difference. So off-premise means liquor store, you're taking the liquor home with you, and on-premise means bars and restaurants, you're drinking it. And to educate them on new normal, how it was going to happen, what was changing, what you could do for your business. And it was a 6-week-long conference every Thursday for about an hour with our distributor, Cheryl Jersey, LibDib. And it was amazing, the people watching it, the stores that watched it, but and learned from it and interacted with questions and stuff. And that allowed us to reach out to those stores and, bring in 291 to their store, virtually and then physically. And that was amazing. And so a lot was learned doing that, and hopefully we'll do that again. It was really well received and impressive, and yeah, so.
Thank you for sharing that. Nick, this is a kind of maybe a tougher question, maybe not. Many businesses and people struggled with layoffs due to COVID-19. Did the Switchbacks have to lay off or furlough any staff in 2020?
Well, short answer, no. It's interesting, though, the day that we were negotiating our concessionaire agreement at the stadium downtown, that concessionaire being kind of a world beater, having many, many employees across the country, we were negotiating at the same time that they were laying off 30,000 people, which was insane. The Sports and Event Center was a bloodbath, like many industries. Just even here in our market, there were 2 professional sports franchises in Denver that folded, and 1 here in the market that dramatically changed. Fortunately for the Switchbacks, we had a great plan, and it was an awesome plan. And while we had certainly setbacks, You know, we talk about some of the people in the community, some of the care that we see in the community, some of the different organizations that have sprouted up to help support and bolster. All these pieces coming together really around our stadium plan and stadium vision. The downtown stadium plan has been something that we've been working on since we became a franchise in 2013. And we were a lot of different comments, a lot of different opinions about its likelihood, its potential, and yet we had a plan. It was an awesome plan, and we stuck to it, and we weathered a lot of storms before COVID. And fortunately, all those storms that we weathered before COVID put us in a position, again, had an awesome plan that helped us to get through. So as we're selling season tickets and sponsorship in 2020, we were selling that for a brand new venue with more capacity, with a lot more assets and a much higher experience level. But you know, the cool aspect of it, though, being in downtown Colorado Springs, historically, this has been a vision for the city for 30 years. And nobody has weathered all those storms to make it happen. But the great thing is, you know, from, you know, even Jonathan at the Better Business Bureau here, just as an example, but the city, our stadium actually right now, even though we were building it and started that in 2020, the budget actually doubled because of the people that came alongside the project and the ownership from an appreciation, from an opportunity, from an investment standpoint. A stadium, that $4.5 million sculpture at the entrance, or the restaurant that we're working at the corner, or you know, all these different features, those wouldn't be even a fraction if it weren't for the people and different groups that have really supported and stepped in. And then of course our ownership, Dean Widener and Ed Reagan, really bringing everything else to the table. So.
Thank you. We're going to have a group question now. I want to take a minute to talk about innovating in 2020, right? That's a common theme. But what did you do to really make those sales and promote your business? Because it probably looked different last year. It is going to continue to look different. You want to start?
Sure. I'm really grateful that I had to do very minimal to promote my business. Being attached to Support the Springs was really great, and people kind of saw my name attached to that. But my restaurants or my coffee shops or my barber shops that you know, were out of work for several months, I was in a good position to not accept money from them at the time, but still be able to support them. And can you remind me the question?
Yeah, of course. So just, yeah, how did, and maybe it doesn't even need to be you in your work, how did you help promote your business or others during a challenging time when promotions look different?
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, I got really scrappy at times. You know, as a photographer as well, it was really hard. I couldn't take pictures in person. I created a way to do donation-based porch portraits when everyone was in shutdown. So I did these fully masked, 10-foot away portraits of families in their element for, I think, throughout April and May, and that generated a little bit of revenue for me. And also it was donation-based. You know, it's, if your family doesn't have much, you know, pay what you can. Sometimes I was gifted with fresh baked bread, and sometimes I had folks that were in a good financial situation to be able to provide money. And so that worked out really well for me. The city, I collaborated with the city on a Mask Up campaign. They allowed me to photograph, which was awesome, and I appreciate their support. And now I just helped them launch the vaccination campaign as well, and so I'm grateful for all of that. And just being able to, you know, if this isn't working, great, let's figure it out. How else can we do it? You know, with my businesses that at the time couldn't afford to pay me, I had one approach me and say, hey, you know, we've got this PPP money, but we had to lay off all of our staff, and we have to spend it by a certain amount of time. So can we put you on our payroll, and can you redo our branding, and can you redo our websites? And I thought, my goodness, what a brilliant idea. Okay, and so then I was able to allow businesses that needed to spend that money at the time to be able to pay me with that. So I got to be on payroll for a handful of different small businesses in town that needed to spend that revenue that they made from the PPP loan. So lots of different ways that we figured it out here, but we did it, and I'm grateful for the experience, and so grateful that we all just love and care about each other so much. So.
Thank you. I like that. Maybe scrappy.
So promoting, I've talked about it a lot about promoting my business throughout COVID. So I'm gonna spin it a little different. And what we tried to do, because we're in the service industry to some extent, or our industry is service, so much of it, we made an effort of, as a team, having, working at a table, daily, into the evening, late. We would buy dinner, or lunch and dinner, and wherever we would go, we would tip. If it was a $20 bill, which it usually wasn't, it was at least double that. Many times it was double, or leave a $100 tip. Just trying to support and hold on to the service people that were, really struggling. And we made a huge effort on that and kept it up, and still doing it to this day. There's times where I need to back off a little bit as you grow, but feel that, however we could support, whatever we could do. I mean, I also dropped bottles of whiskey off for people, different things, but just wanted to support the industry as a whole, as much as we could. We got PP money. We kept everybody employed, so we used that, and that was amazing. But it allowed us to not be really struggling and support other things in different ways, and so that's what we did.
Well, thank you. Well, Nick, yeah, the stadium opened recently, so how are you all focused on sales and getting people into the new stadium?
It's been interesting. 2 days before our home opener, we had a seating manifest, which is where you allow people to sit. We had canceled 50% of our seating manifest, and that's a custom thing. You have to go by seat by seat by seat and cancel those seats. So it was just interesting. 2 days before we opened for our home opener, from the state down, the limitations on our capacity evaporated. And all of a sudden, we had been telling people for 6 months that, hey, you can't sit in seat A1 and 101. To now that seat is open, and now they're at a game, seeing somebody sit in that seat that they wanted, and so it was like we're still dealing with some of the implications of COVID. Fortunately, again, we have just a great team that really care about people and really want to create a great experience and make it awesome. I mean, if that's our focal point of being awesome and to create a great experience, I think we'll be okay. But, again, it was that plan, having that vision about what people really want and are going to enjoy. So we're not there yet, but we're kind of connecting those dots, and I think, this past game, we were able to have a full seating manifest, and people are still getting comfortable. I mean, Ake just said earlier, this is kind of her first event back. And so we had a concert, and we had a weather delay, and so we had people that were like, hey, start compacting in these smaller areas, and I'm like, whoa, red flags. But it's, we're getting there, and I'm excited. I know we're all excited.
Thank you.
Yes, I think to Lauren's point about refining and staying the course, really, we knew that we had value, right? We have 30,000 people that in households that we reach out to. So our struggles are a little bit different. So I think for us it was, how can we make small business marketing spend go further, even if that means we're taking a little bit less? We're going to meet you where you are, and I think that's why we've still seen our sales continue on, because we're going to keep our paywall out. We're not going to say that our value is less because we're going through a hard time, and neither should small businesses. I think staying the course of your business has value, and you need to stay at your price points. And for us as an advertiser in the print field, we're the largest print company here in Springs. So our small business, it's a heartbeat of who we are, right? A lot of the times, this is how businesses are getting seen through our paper, and the Southeast Express is brand new. We've only been out since 2019, and I think now we're seeing success because we're doing year-long advertising with small businesses, and now they get a year of elevated, whether it's earned media or they're also doing paid sponsorships, and we've seen some really good sales from that, staying the course and keeping our business model while coming along businesses and working with them and their marketing spend. And I think curating amazing community events. We have our full backing of all of our publications with the Southeast Express, which is really exciting. We have a yearly thing, it's brand new, called Chalk It Up, where we invite the Southeast community to have their kids and everybody from kids to grannies can come out and chalk it up with our the YMCAs and Boys and Girls Club and all these great businesses that want to invite community into their space. And a lot of businesses don't have the capacity to curate an event, to have volunteers, to have ticket sales, and we allow them to come and shine, and we do the hard end. Our sales team is incredibly passionate. They really want to come alongside businesses and nonprofits and some of our key influencers and stakeholders here and really work with them in how we can elevate their name through our publication. Our other really great event that we have for Southeast Express newspaper it's called Experience Festival and Parade, and it's dedicated to the Southeast community, highlighting multicultural businesses, nonprofit, especially small businesses, because in the Southeast it's just harder to get that earned media. It's harder to get in front of the same people. And so we curate this event. We invite 40, 50 businesses and nonprofits to come, and they are on our in-house ads, they're on our publications, they're on our digital, and we have campaigns that are Southeast Strong or where the business community meets, and they can leverage those platforms through us. I went on a couple tangents there, but I hope you guys followed me on that one.
Absolutely, and I think the common theme from every single answer was the community and relationships, and really paying forward just to being a part of this community. Okay, so we have, I think, about 5 minutes left, so we're going to keep this question hopefully down to a minute, which is probably going to be challenging, but we'll do our best here. So, Michael, you really have an incredible story, and you've incorporated your story into your business, brand, and messaging. Can you share how that story really has benefited your business and brand and making it truly authentic?
In a minute. Yeah, I mean, any brand needs a story. You know, you have to come up with a story brand. You have to, if you don't have a story, people don't engage. And so my story is a strong one. It's a crazy strong story. I'd never brewed beer or distilled when I started the distillery. My 2 whiskeys, my rye and bourbon, are the original recipes. And I built my own still. And there's many more stories to it. But I guess coming from the fashion world, I was a fashion and beauty photographer before this in New York. I learned marketing and telling stories. And so, I mean, the watch on my hand is my dad's watch. Every time I shake it down, it reminds me of him. I mean, almost everything has a story about me. And that just makes your brand that much stronger. And I push my story a little bit away from 291. I mean, it's part of 291, but I want 291 to have its story too. And so that's where I'm moving now, because my story will always be a part of it, but I'm trying to grow the story for 291.
Thank you. Lauren, we'll go next to you. When you look back at starting your own business, what tips do you have for other small businesses or someone who may be thinking of starting their own business?
Oh, wow. I promise I'm not being paid for this, but the Small Business Development Center, that was the first thing I did when I decided that I was ready to quit working for someone else. I was just kind of asking all of my people, my community, how do you do it? Where do I start? I want to do this. I'm scared. And the first place I went to was the Small Business Development Center. I did their trying to remember what the track was, but it's the startup track, I believe. And it was a series of courses where I got to learn about how to do my taxes, how do I file my LLC, how do I open a business bank account and get an EIN and all that good stuff. And I'm grateful for it because while we all know how to do our trades, the running the business part of it is really overwhelming at times, and so that's such a great resource. There's so many good organizations in town to support you, but really just those relationships and the community here is so great, and just kind of put your own ego aside for a second and ask people their stories. How'd you get your start? Because every story is different. Every person has a different, background that they came from, and there's so much wisdom and knowledge out there in our amazing, resilient businesses that are out there, just to immerse yourself in it and take notes. These people have been doing it. They're out there. They're scrappy, if you will, and there's so much to be learned from other people. And I think one of the common things that we've all kind of really hit on today is, do good, be good, and it'll all come back to you. If you're always staying true to who you are and staying true to this community, it's always going to have your back. And I'm so grateful for that.
Great, thank you. Patrice, so I know we're running short on time, but you're fairly new in your new role, so congratulations. But what's it like to step into this space as an African-American woman?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. And thank you guys for sharing your heart and your story. I'm over here tearing up. This has been such a great panel to listen to all of you all. I would just say two things. I think I'm a native in Colorado Springs. I had the opportunity to work at El Pomar Foundation for years and kind of incorporate the right values: respect, integrity, teamwork, excellence, and a shared vision. And for so long, I felt like being one of the only got a little bit cumbersome. And in the last decade of my last career, with being a nonprofit executive and now, a leader, an actual leader at the Business Journal and the Independent, now the Southeast Express, I think it's about that inclusion piece, right? We talk a lot about diversity and equity, but what does that really mean? I mean, it means that not only am I at the table, honey, but I'm writing the checks, I'm making the decisions, I'm on this panel, and I think that's very powerful because it hasn't always been like that, and it's not like that for other women that are in my journey that are women of color. So for me, it's being able to align with people and not have like a barrier, because sometimes you do get that and in Colorado Springs it's hard, we're very compartmentalized in different ways, and for me it's an honor, it's a blessing. Thank you so much for Jonathan and the SBDC and BBB and US Bank for sponsoring this whole thing, and the panel members and Meredith and all your work for it. But for me, in my role, to have the lens be heard, to be seen and actually dance in the party, it's just a blessing for Colorado Springs. And the first person through the brick wall kind of gets bloody, right? But then you got all these people that can come after you and be change makers. So I take it very seriously, and I'm enjoying it. I'm just enjoying Colorado Springs growing and thriving and being a part of things like this.
Thank you so much. All right, Nick, sorry, we're running low on time, but really want to end definitely hearing from you. The switchback, we talked about community, and I know I see Ziggy, your mascot, players all over town. Can you speak to, just quickly, what that future sort of cause-related marketing, being a part of the community, may look like? Will you guys still be out there? Will Ziggy be making the rounds?
Yeah, 100%. So our mission statement, which has been this way for a while, we create community by delivering excellent soccer and entertainment experiences. So community is a core. The story behind Ziggy, switchbacks in Spanish is zigzag. So Ziggy became the name, and Zaggy will probably be a future, like maybe a little kid. But we had, name and ideas from a bunch of elementary schools around the city back in 2014, and came up with a goat, and then so we drew it, and actually the Sound of Music, the little marionette goats, was actually one of the inspirations behind how Ziggy actually formed up. But yeah, it's about community, it's about culture, it's about experience, and while we want to inspire the community, with the venue and with the professional athletes, it's also important to put a smile on people's faces and just have a fun day. Actually, Ziggy's head is in the Pioneers Museum, the first version Ziggy. He's there as part of the 150 items for 150 years. And so, yeah, Ziggy is become part of the culture.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Well, definitely some key takeaways from today. Leveraging digital, social, really those trusted relationships in our community will position us all to navigate the future. And I know I could stay here all day listening to and absorbing the wisdom from this amazing panel, but alas, our time has come to an end. So please join me in applauding our panel, AD staff, and the rest of the staff who put this event on, both in person and virtually. Let's give them a round of applause. And turn it over to Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Meredith, and you did a fantastic job moderating, so I appreciate that. being here today, but also to each and every one of you, the panelists. This is a fantastic panel. You had so much great information, and I appreciate a lot of the heartfelt stories. A lot of personal stories came out, as we kind of suspected it would, giving all of you for the great work you're doing in our community. Thank you for getting through 2020, but also thank you for your wisdom in telling everybody else kind of what to look for, what to expect, and you know how you can keep making your business better. We're always, I love your quote, Lauren, of, you know, you got to make sure that you are working on your business, not just working in it. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the work that you do. Thanks for creating a great kickoff to Small Business Week. Appreciate all of you so much. So, hey, Kat, turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all again for being here today. So we will be here again tomorrow and then again on Wednesday. So hopefully you signed up to be here in person. If not, again, pikespeak.cdc.org/Small Business Week or Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak Region Facebook page is where you can see our live stream. And, you know, I just want to thank you all for, you know, coming out. This is our first event back in person and live stream. Thank you all for trusting us to be on the panel. Thank you for the shout out to small business, to the SBDC. Sometimes we forget that amazing people like Lauren started with us. You've come such a long way and you're so amazing, Lauren, so thank you. And also there's a lot of people in the back here that I wanted to say thank you to really quick as well. Paul and Krista and Mackenzie and Kyle and Becky, Rita, Joe. You know, there's just a lot of people here as staff that has made this happen, and I just want to thank you all for being there. You don't get enough credit for running logistics on everything, so thank you. We love you too.